What's up everybody, 40 the BulbulSaiyan here, and in this video we're going to ask the question, should you pull for Velanna, the brand new undead warrior unit coming soon to Eversoul? Let's go ahead and get right to it. Alright guys, you know the drill. Before we go ahead and talk about Velanna and should you be pulling for her or not when she debuts in Eversoul, I want to remind you guys that if you enjoy what you see on this channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. That way you're not missing out on future uploads. Leave a like on this video and comment down below what you think of Velanna's kit so far. So all of the information that you're going to be finding in this video can also be found on the Pridewin website. They had just revealed Velanna's entire kit. Now, full disclosure, all of this information, including the numerical data, is subject to change. Like, they can literally change it when the character comes out. So some of these numbers, while they may seem amazing, take it with a grain of salt until the character actually goes live in Eversoul. But we're going to go ahead and cover Velanna's role, what she's all about, and should you be pulling for this character or not. So Velanna is an undead unit. She's a warrior. Her gear type is strength. Some of the highlights that this character brings is AoE DPS, which is awesome because we don't really have too many AoE DPS. I see a ton of like Naya being used and Vivian and stuff, but we finally get another one. She also bleeds her enemy targets. She can do guaranteed crit damage, which is built into her kit. She also has lifesteal, and she can also stun. So a lot of goodies there for a damage dealing unit. Definitely really cool that she has a mix of like damage, crit damage, a little bit of CC there with the stun, and debuffing with the bleeds. Very, very cool character. Definitely very exciting, and I'm looking forward to her. So let's go ahead and take a look at her actual skills, starting off with her ultimate skill called Ball of Blood and Snake. This deals AoE damage to all enemies, causes bleed, and this cannot be cured. The bleed deals damage over time, every 2 seconds for 12 seconds, and it also deals additional damage to targets already bleeding. Right there are the damage modifiers. At base, this deals 240% of attack. The bleed deals 55% damage, and the additional damage to bleeding targets is at 140%. At level 101, this now deals 260% of attack. The bleed damage goes up to 60%, and the additional damage dealt to bleeding targets is now at 160%. At level 201, it deals 280% of attack, the bleed deals 65% damage, and the additional damage is at 180%, and this time, it also stuns bleeding targets for 3 seconds. So overall, that's a very powerful ultimate skill from a damage perspective. I love the flavor that it adds with the bleeding and additional damage to bleeding targets, and if you can actually get her to level 201, that stun is amazing. So a mix of damage over time, and CC, which I find absolutely amazing. Her next skill is going to be her main skill called Wild Dance. This deals damage to the nearest enemy, then moves forward in a 5-meter length at a 180-degree angle. It also deals additional damage to bleeding targets. The damage modifiers for her main skill is as follows: 200% of attack at base with 120% additional damage. At level 81, it goes up to 210% of attack with 130% additional damage. And finally, at level 181, it deals 220% of attack, 140% additional damage, and also stuns the target for 2 seconds if the target is already bleeding. Her sub-skill 1 is called Soaring Hatred. This deals damage in a 2.5-meter radius, bleeds the target, dealing damage over time every 2 seconds for 12 seconds. The base damage modifier is 110% of attack, with the bleed damage being at 50% of attack. At level 21, this jumps up to 120% of attack, with the bleed damage at 55% of attack. And finally, at level 121, this deals 130% of attack, bleed damage being at 60% of attack, and the bleed duration increased to 14 seconds. Her sub-skill 2 is called Swirling Frenzy. This deals damage in a 2.5-meter radius, dealing additional damage to bleeding targets. The modifiers are as follows: 140% of attack with 100% additional damage. At level 41, this jumps up to 150% of attack, 110% additional damage, and this also increases Velanna's physical and magic resistance by 30%, for 14 seconds, giving her some sort of survivability, which is really cool. And finally, at level 141, this deals 160% of attack, with the additional damage being at 120%. Her passive skill is called Seething Obsession. So Velanna's attacks are dealt as critical hits, excuse me, on all bleeding targets, and increases her lifesteal potency. Very, very cool. And she's already all about the bleeding, so that is really powerful that she's able to turn all of her attacks that she deals to critical hits on bleeding targets. So the damage modifiers that you're looking at there is the base is 30% lifesteal. At level 61 is 35% lifesteal, and then at level 161 it is at 40% lifesteal. And finally, we're going to take a look at her artifact called Sword of Madness. So the damage modifiers are right there. At base, it increases her critical damage dealt by 12%. At Effect 1, it's at 18. Effect 2, it's at 24. Effect 3, 36. Effect 4, 42. Effect 5, 48. And Effect 6, 60%. You're definitely going to want her artifact because the fact that she could deal guaranteed critical hits on bleeding targets, you put this on top of that, she's going to be dealing an insane amount of damage. So after taking a look at what Velanna brings to the table, what are my overall thoughts on this character? She is a very powerful damage dealer. She can bleed targets with damage over time. On top of that, she's able to deal additional damage with the damage that she's already dealing to bleeding targets. At the higher upgrades, if you invest in her fully, she has access to stun. She can also allow herself to be a bit more tanky with that sub skill 2 at upgrade 1. Pretty cool character. I think as a damage dealer, she's extremely versatile. She's definitely going to be dealing a lot of damage, and if you're looking for an undead warrior to be able to fulfill that role, I think this unit might be for you. If you're going to ask me right now, 40, are you going to be pulling for this character? Absolutely. 2000% yes. I'm actually planning on going to Pity for this character. The first time this character's design and her aesthetic was revealed, I thought she looked absolutely cool. I was getting Castlevania vibes, Soul Calibur vibes, if you guys know who I'm talking about in Soul Calibur. I'm definitely going to pull for this character, and I'm hoping that I could at least get 8 copies so I could get her all the way to Origin. Now, what kind of characters work with her? We're going to go ahead and jump into my account here just to see what kind of characters could definitely work with her. The first character that comes to mind is, unfortunately, a character that I don't have, but I hope to get her on my way to pulling for Velanna, is Ingame. Ingame has various ways to make the targets bleed, and that just works so well with Velanna. I mean, Velanna does have her sub skill, which can apply bleed, and her ultimate also applies bleed. However, you want to be able to capitalize on that, so I think Ingame is a great character that definitely complements her. Another character that I could think of, let's say you don't have access to Ingame or something like that. Jade, I believe, could potentially work with her because she has the ability to help trigger additional effects, and I believe that means sub-skills. If I'm wrong on that, please let me know in the comment section below, but I believe that's how that works, because usually the sub-skills have a chance of proccing when they're actually attacking. So I think Jade, if you don't have access to Ingame, could definitely help. Another character that I can think of is definitely somebody like Jacqueline, who also happens to be undead. There she is. So Jacqueline moves to the back of the enemy line, and she pretty much wreaks havoc on their back line. And if you pair that up with the damage over time, plus the insane amounts of damage that Velanna is already bringing, her and Jacqueline just work so well together. And then another character that I could think of is actually part of the Beast faction, which is going to be Haru. Scroll up here. So Haru also has the ability to inflict bleed, I believe, which Bleeding Claw right there. So if the target is bleeding, deals additional damage. So she can definitely complement that because Velanna can apply bleed with her sub skill as well as her ultimate. So she's another character that could potentially work with that. Some supportive characters that I'm thinking of right now, right off the bat, I'm thinking of using somebody like Catherine. I imagine that Velanna, because she's such a heavy damage dealer with just so much built into her kit, that she's probably going to be a squishy type. That's what I'm thinking. That's also probably why they gave her the ability to increase her physical and magic resistance from her sub-skill 2 at level 1 upgrade. So I think somebody like Catherine could definitely help with her survivability. If you want to be a bit more offensive, you could run Jiho. You guys know how much I praise Jiho. Jiho is going to be really cool. So if you're thinking of running like, a hybrid human undead comp, that could be something that you could look into. You definitely want to run a tank, so that way they're taking aggro away from Velanna, so Velanna can do what she does, which is deal a ton of damage with bleeds, do critical hits, all that good stuff, and be able to just wreak havoc on enemies. But those are some examples of characters that I could potentially see myself using. And if you guys have any ideas of how you're going to plan on using her or what characters you want to run with Velanna, just let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to get your thoughts on that. But that's going to go ahead and conclude my video on should you pull for Velanna. For me, 100%, 2000%, I'm going to be pulling for this character. She looks amazing, and I think that her kit is very, very powerful. But let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Don't forget to check out the official Pridewin website, where all of this information can be found. I'm always leaving the links down below in the video description, as well as the pinned comments. You guys definitely check that out if you want more detailed guides in a written format. They have a wonderful resource there. Be sure to check them out. All right, guys. Well, thank you again for watching. Stay tuned for the next video on this channel, and stay blessed, everybody.